Class is now open. Look at this, an electrical duplex receptacle outlet. This is for beginners. Okay, that's why I titled it that way. If you don't know anything about replacing an electrical outlet, this video is for you. So stick around. I've got lots to teach you. That's funny. I'm just going to put it on this little cat stand right here. My little work bench, as it were. And we're going to take a few looks on here as to what's going on with this. Did you know you can get an electrical outlet like this at your local hardware store for about, this one was less than $1, 77 cents to be exact. You don't want to buy one in a cardboard box. Lots of times they'll have electrical outlets in a cardboard box like this. This happens to be a switch, but sometimes you'll find these in here, you know. But I usually like to get the ones that are loose in a tray, and they're the cheapest ones you can get. 77 cents for this. They work just as well as the $1.99 ones, or whatever. And this one happens to have the little round out faces like that. And then they also have rectangular ones. Have you seen the rectangular ones? If you've not seen the rectangular ones, I don't happen to have one here, but I have light switches here. See how it's rectangular? Well, they have electrical outlets like that, so then you would have to get a cover plate, you know, with the knockouts like this, okay? But it's always nice when you're replacing something, look at your existing electrical outlets, okay? See what kind they are. See, that's the one I'm going to replace. Now, see, that's the old school style is what I've got. That's what I call it, old school. And then it's got this cover plate with the two round knockouts. And you also look at all of your light switches and your electrical outlets, and hopefully they're all the same color. Now, these happen to be white. Now, in older houses, they're kind of ivory color. Okay, so you don't want to just run to the store and get an ivory one and put it down where a white one is. Or go to the store, yeah, I just need an electrical outlet, I don't know, I'll just pick one up, they're all the same. And you come back and it's an off-white one, it's the vanilla color, the off-white, and you put it in there and it doesn't match. I've seen that lots of times. Even sometimes they'll do that with GFI outlets. Let's take a look in here. Let's just see what they did. Oh, that's right. I've got the power. I've got the power turned off. Here's a GFI electrical outlet, and it happens to be white on white. Lots of times these are off-colored, and sometimes they'll put an off-colored one here with the white cover plate because they weren't paying attention when they went to the store. They didn't get the right color. Okay, so the first thing you want to know is get the right color. Okay? Match your existing conditions. See, here's one here in the bedroom. Yep, sure enough, it's that same kind. You take a peruse, check around. Yep, sure enough, white on white. All the light switches are white on white. White light switches, white cover plates, not the off-white. Okay, so everything's going to match. That's one of the first things I do before I go down to the hardware store and pick something out. Now, here's something else you're going to want to, well, here's something interesting I find on these. When I take a look at this, they have two different kinds. They have a 15 amp electrical outlet, and they also have 20 amp. Well, what's the difference, you might say? Well, 15 amp, lots of times they'll have 15 amp, and those are generally the ones that you install in a house, okay? Like all your electrical outlets in your bedroom will probably be this one, 15 amp, but you know, in the kitchen, they're probably 20 amp. They're probably 20 amp, and lots of times 20 amp electrical outlets might have a line right there, and that might distinguish it. But then also you can look up in here, and I see on this one it says 15A right there. That tells me this is a 15 amp one. Here's another little thing right there. See that? 15A. 125V means 125 volt. Okay, 125 volt, 15 amp. And so I know this is the one that I want. The funny thing is, when you go down to your electrical panel, let's just go down there. This is a training video, and I'm trying to teach you some different things having to do with electrical. So count yourself lucky. Lots of times, I don't know where you're going to find something like this on a YouTube channel. They'll probably just tell you how to install an electrical outlet, and they tell you how to take it apart, put it back together, and all that kind of stuff. I'm giving you the meat and the potatoes, so to speak, on a few things having to do with electrical. Okay, so here's my electrical sub panel, and I'm going to look at this, and you can read all the different things. And the funny thing is, on that electrical outlet up there, it didn't list. It's upstairs and stuff. I actually found it under living room, and see, look at this. See all of these? These are your breakers, and they all happen to say 20 on them, don't they? See there? They all say 20. That's kind of odd. But here's the thing. Lots of times you'll have in your sub panel, you'll have lots of them that'll say 15 amp, 15, and you'll have some that say 20. The 15s are usually for your bedroom electrical outlets and your bedroom light fixtures and all kinds of stuff like that. But this happens to be a condo, and they thought, forget it. Let's just run everything 20 amp. Okay? And that's something important to know. Why is that? Because for 20 amp, all of your electrical wiring inside the house is going to be 12 gauge wire. Okay, 12 gauge wire. That's the size of the copper. Okay, solid 12 gauge wiring. And 15 amp circuits are usually run by 14 gauge wire. Now what's the difference? Well, the 14 gauge wire is a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller than your 20. I just happen to have a couple little pieces of wire here, and I was going to show you some different things. Now, I think one of these is 12 gauge wire, and one's 15 or 14 gauge wire. Okay, and it kind of makes a difference. Okay, I'm gonna strip off some. Here's my little strippers, and here's something else you're going to need to know. If you use strippers, they got little numbers on the side. See there? There's a 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And you go, for 12 gauge wire, I'm going to use the hole, that's the 12, and I know that's the second one. Okay, I'm just going to set it on there, twist, pull it off. Kaboom. Okay, now this one I think is 14, so I count up 3, that's 14's right there, see? Right there, so I can strip that wire right there. Okay, so I'm going to pull that off carefully. Now, can you see the difference? See how this one's thinner than that? See there? And I can usually tell, when you're running wire after a while, you can generally tell this one can bend a little bit easier. The 14 gauge wire as opposed to the 12 gauge wire is a little bit stiffer. When I first looked at the ends of these, I was trying to see, here's an end that hasn't been stripped. When you first look at it, it's kind of hard to tell if one's thicker than the other until you strip the wire. Sometimes if it's kind of pushed in there, you might think, oh, these are both the same, but they're not. And that's a very important aspect to know, because when you're getting ready to install an electrical outlet, okay, this is a 15 amp, right? This is 15 amp. There's 3 different ways to install a wire on a 15 amp electrical outlet. Okay, let's just show you a couple of them. Here's one way, is on the back. See those little holes? You would poke the wire into the back. Okay, you'd poke it into the back. Another way you could do it is loosen up this side screw and put it on the side like that. Okay, and clamp the screw down. I've seen electricians do that. Some electrical outlets are set up that way. I don't like doing it that way because it has a tendency of possibly sliding out. There's a little concave area right there where you put your wire in there and let it set on there and clamp that down. If you're not paying attention, maybe you don't clamp it down properly, and when you push this into the wall, maybe this wire pops out or whatever. What I like to do